You're listening to The Foundation of Wellness, a refreshing take on diet and lifestyle. Join me, Marisa Moon, as we tackle modern health with innovative and ancient principles. I'm a certified primal health coach and intermittent fasting instructor at marisamoon.com. Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me today. I'm sharing with you my most popular blog post today, and it's a pretty compelling concept about oatmeal, and I call it The Truth About Overnight Oats. And in the next few minutes, you'll understand how to make your oatmeal more nutritious and less harmful by preparing it the old-fashioned way. When I first discovered that I had non-celiac gluten sensitivity, like 7 years ago, and a leaky gut, I started blogging recipes to share what I was learning about eating foods that are more nourishing and prepared the old-fashioned way so that you can minimize toxins and improve digestibility. Well, that blog is called mylongevitykitchen.com, and although I haven't published anything on there in a long time because I'm focusing more now on health coaching at marisamoon.com, this post about overnight oats gets a lot of attention, a lot of traffic, and lots of comments and questions about it because oatmeal fans are like pretty hardcore about their love for oatmeal. And they come find my post because overnight oats are such a big trend, and they're like dumbfounded because it answers a lot of their rising concerns about the way that they've been feeling lately or things they've been dealing with. So you'll start to learn a lot more as I continue, but you can find this post at mylongevitykitchen.com, and on the homepage you'll see the picture of the oatmeal and click on that to get to the post, or you could always type in the search box overnight oats, and the link of course is in the show notes. And now for the truth about overnight oats. So it's too bad this trend, overnight oats, became so popular because somebody got the trend all wrong. Well, not all wrong, but they messed up the only step in that recipe. And in my opinion, they left out a very important step. So instead of soaking those oats overnight in the refrigerator, we should be soaking them in warm water at room temperature or even warmer. And would you believe that cooking the oats afterwards actually makes them more nutritious and easier to digest? This is not a food that you want to eat raw. So let me break down some of the basics for you. Now, our ancestors, they ate whole grains after they soaked them, or they fermented them, even better. And over time, they figured out that this was how grains need to be prepared. You see, a grain is a seed. It's a dormant seed that is waiting to grow into a plant. So yes, it has lots of nutrients inside of it, but it also has lots of toxins to protect it so that it can survive whatever it's up against, and it can end up growing into a plant like it's destined to do. So our ancestors figured out that grains just need to be prepared this way. They need to be soaked or fermented in order to avoid illness and to support robust health. And it was probably thanks to serendipity that they figured out all of this back then because there weren't any refrigerators. Food was just left out, and if you didn't want it to be rotten or spoiled, it had to ferment. But as generations passed and food culture really started to diminish, especially here in America, we have just been rushing to prepare everything as fast as possible and as cheaply as possible. And we've even gone as far as thinking that something like oats are better uncooked or raw. And this is just flat out wrong. Did you know that the box of oatmeal back in the day, like way before they even had pictures, so I couldn't find any proof of this, but the boxes of oatmeal used to say soak overnight in the directions. What happened to that, right? Well, you see, all grains contain something called phytic acid or phytates, and it lives in the outer layer or the bran of the seed, and oats contain way more phytates than almost any other grain there is. So if this phytic acid, these phytates are left untreated, it can combine with other important minerals that are in your body and block your absorption of those minerals. So the minerals I'm talking about are calcium and iron and zinc and magnesium and copper. Many of these are common nutrient deficiencies that we hear about today. So we need those minerals. And our food supply is providing less and less of them because of the way that we're farming now, because our soil is depleted of nutrients. So not only is there less in the food to begin with, but then we're eating a diet that's so high in grains, so the phytic acid is interfering with our ability to absorb those minerals. And not to mention, it also interferes with our ability to make vitamin D3 from the sunlight. That's really important. We all know that. So we should take every precaution to protect our vitamin D levels and the minerals that are present in our diet, and regular consumption of improperly prepared grains like raw oatmeal, even if it's soaked overnight, especially any grains or legumes and even nuts, it can lead to mineral deficiencies or leaky gut syndrome, intestinal permeability, in other words, irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, even bone loss and food intolerances and autoimmune disease or thyroid dysfunction, and even mental illness like depression. So if improperly prepared grains is a problem, then what's the proper way to prepare your grains? Well, the process is pretty simple, really. It just sounds new to you, so it probably sounds weird, but all we need to do is soak the whole grains overnight at room temperature or even warmer, because the bacteria love the warmth and it helps to pre-digest those grains. Let me continue, because if you add an acid starter to the water, like liquid whey is an acid starter, kefir or kefir, yogurt, or even something acidic like apple cider vinegar or lemon juice, helps tremendously to move things along in the fermentation process. So adding one of those to the soaking water helps you encourage good bacterial behavior. And this allows the natural enzymes present in the food and other helpful organisms to begin fermenting and pre-digesting those grains. You want to be soaking it with this acidic medium for like 7 to 24 hours. And this helps to neutralize a large portion of that phytic acid so that you can absorb a lot of the nutrients that are in there and digest it more easily. Now, soaking in warm, acidic, or cultured water not only gets rid of the mineral-blocking substance, phytic acid, but it also releases all of the vitamins in the grains and encourages more healthy digestion by partially breaking down some of the proteins like gluten or other lectins. And it also helps to reduce goitrogens, which can be really impairing function of the thyroid. So it's a win-win all around. Soaking and fermenting is really the way to go, but it's not really going to happen if you have it in your fridge because it's too cold for this activity to continue. So after you've soaked overnight, you're going to want to finish your oatmeal by cooking it. Yes, you only need to cook it for like 5 to 10 minutes. So don't act like this is too much because it's really, honestly, like 5 minutes, you're done. And there's an entire recipe in the blog post at mylongevitykitchen.com. It's awesome too. It's low sugar, and we use banana to sweeten it, and we use butter because the butter helps absorb fat-soluble vitamins, and pecans and cinnamon. It really reminds me of this Italian porridge that we would eat for breakfast called farina. And oatmeal should be more like a porridge. It should be really broken down and easy to digest. You really, really want to cook your oatmeal, so don't skip that step. Don't eat it raw. Even after you soaked it and fermented it, don't eat it raw. And I don't want you putting raw oatmeal in your smoothies either. I know that's really popular, but any of these things that you do regularly, it's really important to take the notes that I'm providing you today. If it's something you have on occasion, like you have oatmeal cookies around the holidays or something, like not a big deal. But if it's something you're eating regularly, or if you already have gut issues, you think you have a leaky gut, irritable bowel syndrome, this is something you're going to really want to consider, or nutrient deficiencies like we discussed. So take what you're learning here and spread the word with those that you care about, because oatmeal is one of those things that people just eat habitually, like every single morning. They're just like, that's all they eat is oatmeal for breakfast, right? And that's why it's important to get the word out. Now, although I don't usually consume oatmeal or most grains, I felt the need to focus on this recipe and this post because so many of my closest friends and relatives enjoy oatmeal on a regular basis. I get it. And my goal with mylongevitykitchen.com was to help people learn how to maximize nutrients and minimize toxins in their food. Because, of course, my passion lies in the ways of our ancient ancestors and learning their time-honored traditional cooking methods. And oatmeal can be nutritious, or it can be quite the opposite. So I hope you've learned a thing or two on how to make it truly nourishing. Now, I've got more tips for you on how to buy and source your oats for optimal nutrition, and even more on liquid whey fermentation, because I'm sure you're totally confused by that. But first, I want to thank our affiliate partner, Dry Farm Wines. Dry Farm Wines is the most health-conscious natural wine club in the world. These wines are created the old-fashioned way, and they use wild yeast fermentation, 0 additives or sulfites added, no irrigation. It's good for the earth, and they're beyond organic. I mean, it's a truly alive wine, like wine should be. They're naturally lower in alcohol and sugar-free. It's the only wine besides my grandpa's homemade wine that doesn't give me a headache or a hangover. I'm such a huge fan, and you can try their wines yourself by heading to dryfarmwines.com/FOW podcast, where you'll get an extra bottle on your first order for only a penny more. You can order a case of 6 bottles of wine, or you can order a 12 case, and it could be red or white or mixed, and you can cancel or stop or reschedule your shipments with just the click of a button. I've done that so many times, and now's the perfect time for the holiday season to share these with others or bring it with you so you're not just having like food comas and wine hangovers all at the same time during all of this celebrating. It's really unlike anything else. Again, that link is dryfarmwines.com/FOW podcast. That stands for the Foundation of Wellness. And thank you for supporting this podcast with our affiliates and such a mission-driven company like Dry Farm Wines. You can learn a lot more about natural wines and the winemaking industry when we interviewed their founder, Todd White, on episode number 60 on the Foundation of Wellness. Check that out. Here are some more tips on oats. When you're buying oats, always buy organic. Any gluten-containing grains should be organic, but in my opinion, all grains should be organic. And this is pretty imperative because the science now shows that it's the glyphosate weed killer, which is used on a lot of non-organic grains. That glyphosate in the presence of gluten in our gut contributes to intestinal permeability. So even if you don't have a gluten sensitivity, it can still be wreaking havoc in your gut and causing you to have symptoms like stomach pains, diarrhea, gas, bloating, and constipation. And it can lead to immune responses soon. Irritating symptoms, gluten intolerance, food intolerances. I mean, it's totally worth it to take caution and buy your grains organic. Now, the next tip for oats is to always eat your oats and your grains with a healthy fat like grass-fed butter, grass-fed cream, coconut milk, or coconut oil, because the fats are necessary for you to absorb the fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Now, you never want to buy your oats or cracked oats or rolled oats in the bulk bin because they have delicate fats in them that are very easily oxidized and they can go rancid, which just contributes to inflammation in your body, heart disease, dangerous plaque in your arteries, all sorts of things go on, advanced aging, etc. when you have too many damaged fats in your diet. So even though we don't think of oats as containing fats, they do have very delicate fats. And once they've been processed, like rolled or cracked, you really want to make sure they're in a sealed package so the oils don't go rancid and cause free radicals in your body. Lastly, it's a tremendous help to use the probiotic-rich liquid, like I mentioned, Whey. It can be found at the top of your plain yogurt, for instance. Or buttermilk is a good option, whole milk plain yogurt, whole milk kefir, coconut kefir when you're soaking your oats. That helps break down the phytic acid in the best way possible. And it also inhibits any harmful bacteria from growing. So if you're completely against dairy and you don't have any on hand, you can just try another acidic medium like lemon juice or apple cider vinegar. but you would probably then want to add another gluten-free grain like buckwheat groats or buckwheat. It's not actually a grain, and it is gluten-free, and it helps break down phytic acid in the stubborn oats. There's a lot more on that in the links in the show notes and on the blog post. But any of these soaking methods helps to encourage beneficial bacteria, enzymes being released to make it better absorption in your body, proper breakdown of those stingy phytates in those grains. And that's why you're going to see the recipe that I provide suggests up to 2 tablespoons of a liquid like that while you're soaking them at room temperature. Now, you're probably wondering about this stuff, whey, liquid whey. It's really referred to as acid whey a lot. It's a byproduct from the unripened fresh cheeses being produced. And even when we make yogurt, that's why you can find it easily on the top of your yogurt. The thicker the yogurt is and the longer it ferments, then the more of this liquid whey is available. Now, it's actually acid whey is something that's been prescribed for all sorts of human ailments. Even Hippocrates himself in 460 BC was prescribing acid whey. It's pretty cool, huh? I mean, throughout the Middle Ages, doctors continued to prescribe whey so much that there were whey houses popping up all over Western Europe. They treated everything from arthritis to anemia with whey. It's pretty wild. Now, whey supplies lactobacilli. That is a beneficial bacteria known as a probiotic. It's in your supplement, but it's actually right there in the whey. So the homemade stuff has so many uses, like fermenting vegetables. Lactofermentation is what is used to make traditional pickles and sauerkraut. Actually, lactic acid is really rich in cabbage, which is why it's so easy to ferment that. Acid whey is also used to make condiments in beverages like kefir or cultured mayonnaise, or if you're soaking nuts or grains like we are here, it's added to help ferment in the process. And traditional uses also include adding whey to soups. When you're done cooking them, you drizzle a little on top, which helps with nutrient absorption and digestibility. Now, if you want to make your own whey, it's pretty easy, and I've got a step-by-step on that blog post. It is easier than you think, and you can keep it for like a month in your refrigerator once you have a jar full. Now, if you want to learn more about phytic acid, traditional methods of soaking grains and fermenting them, I have got to tell you to grab the book called Nourishing Traditions. That is my biggest inspiration thus far. It's a cookbook / history book and nutrition book, and it doesn't have any pictures or anything, but I go to it all the time. I think it's fascinating to learn like the most simple and nutritious ways to prepare foods as they have throughout history. I mean, that wisdom really takes us places, and we need it today more than ever. So you should check out Nourishing Traditions if the topic of traditional food preparations appeals to you. And come on over to my Facebook group, The Foundation of Wellness, so we can talk about what you learned in today's episode. You can find the group at facebook.com/groups/FOW podcast, or click the link in the show notes as well. And as always, if you need some support getting through obstacles with your health, I can be your health coach. I take 4 private clients a month. If you're wondering what a typical session is like with my clients, I help them better manage their stress and break through weight loss plateaus or recover from leaky gut syndrome. I help them create structure in their lives to better reach their goals, and I ultimately make their lives easier. I hear that quite frequently. I mean, together we put an end to the confusion about what's healthy so that you can identify the lifestyle that represents health in your own unique way. I want you to head over to marisamoon.com/consultation to schedule your free strategy call with me so we can figure out if health coaching is a good fit for you. Thanks so much for listening, and share this episode with an oatmeal fan that you love, because it really can help someone. Talk to you soon. Bye.